Hey, this is Jordan from Avid. I'm here at NAB 2019 with editor Debbie Berman, editor behind the smash hit Captain Marvel. She just did a great presentation up on the main stage. Thank you so much for that. In that, you actually talked about how in some of your films you did more action scenes. In Captain Marvel, you actually did more of the heart and humor. Do you find one type of scene to be more challenging than the other?
They're all challenging in their own way. I think sometimes the action scenes take a little longer to get together because there may be more moving elements and moving parts, but that doesn't necessarily make them more challenging. Like sometimes finding the heart of the moment can be the most difficult thing to do, like the sincerity of it, or finding the humor of something. So I think they're challenging in different ways.
And when you're trying to prepare to start in on certain scenes, you mentioned when you were doing Spider-Man Homecoming that you intentionally wanted to do the action scenes. Was there anything you did to prepare for that, or did you approach it differently?
I certainly watched as many action scenes as I could to sort of educate myself on what had been done, what I felt worked, what I wanted to try to do differently, how different kinds of editing of action scenes made me feel differently. So yeah, I did my homework. I always overdo my homework. You know, if you have too much information, it's never a bad thing.
Is that some advice you would give to any editor that's getting started?
Definitely always do your homework, especially even if you're going for an interview. If I'm going for an interview, I've read that script 5 times. I can reference tiny things in specific scenes. I've formulated thoughts and opinions on everything. Even if it doesn't come up in the interview, you can tell if you have a history with the character through your answers to some questions. I watch as much as I can of what the director has worked on before, so sometimes I'll reference their films and how I see them connect to the current film. And I think if you just do a lot of homework, it shows your interest and shows your passion and just gives you a good foundation on which to jump from, and not even just interviews, just working on films.
You're mentioning or you mentioned in the presentation, in maybe one of those first interviews, that you had to lie and say you knew media composer and learn it later. We actually, at that time, probably didn't have what we have now, our Media Composer First, which is a totally free download for anyone. How helpful would that have been for you?
I think that's amazing that you have it, because I think often you don't have access to the tools that you need to get a job, and so being able to have the ability to get a free download and to practice at home is certainly very helpful.
What other ways did you approach action films as a whole? It seems like you've kind of gotten into that as.
Yeah, I understand the question. So one of the things that are very important to me when cutting an action film is to ensure that there is clarity, so that you understand what is happening in the scene. I think sometimes if the action is too frantic, or if you're using too many actions, it might look cool, but you don't know what's going on, so you can't emotionally connect to the scene. If appropriate, to have humor in the scene, or always just elevate the emotional experience of watching it. If you can show character development during the course of the scene and how the character begins and ends the scene in a different place, is also helpful. And if you can do all of that while making things look really cool, I almost swore, I came very close to swearing there, then you have a great action scene.
We're Avid, we can edit it. Just in something else for editors who are starting out, who are trying to get their career going, you mentioned in there that when you were first talking to the folks at Spider-Man Homecoming that they were saying no, and you tried to not let that no feel personal. How important is that for editors to always keep in mind?
You've got to have thick skin, and one of the things I say over and over is I'm passionate about everything, but I'm precious about nothing. So when I'm editing, I'll fight for a scene, I'll fight for what I believe in. But if it doesn't roll that way, I got to be able to throw away that idea and come up with 300 other ones. So I think it's a good balance to have thick skin and to not take things personally.
It's always a collaboration. Kind of, you can't be. You mentioned that you guys start a film and you're married to that director. You're married to those people, but you can't really be married to a sequence.
Yeah, you've got to have a good mix of fighting for something, but not to the point where it's detrimental to the film or to your relationships on the film.
What are some of the features of Media Composer that you really like to use?
Well, script sync is phenomenal. It really helps organizing, especially when you have a lot of footage. So Black Panther, for example, we had 500 hours of footage, And so being able to easily access and find things is really helpful and saves you a lot of hours, and you can focus all your time on being a creative storyteller as opposed to trying to find things. The fact, because we have a huge crew of like 15 people, being able to have all of those people on the same project at the same time is amazing. Also, just being able to do quick comps and stuff. Like, I love doing my own quick comps to just sell the story idea, and then I can even, do like an animat with 10 producers in the room just to quickly show something, and being able to do it quickly is really helpful to the storytelling process because you can sell ideas quickly that way.
What drew you to editing when you were first starting out?
I'm not really sure. I mean, I used to work on like a linear edit suite when I was in high school, like an old tape-to-tape deck, and I really loved that's where you make the movie, and I loved hiding in a dark room, just me and the movie, and it's just so much fun solving this giant puzzle, and there's so many variants of the film, and I just really enjoyed that process of creating in a more controlled environment. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Debbie Berman, editor behind the smash hit Captain Marvel. She's here in the Avid booth, and I will let you go explore this Avid booth and check out the new media composer. So get on down here. We've got a lot more coming up on the main stage. Avid booth, South Upper Hall, 801.